This tutorial is an introduction to the entry and management of items into DecEzy via the Item Management window. It should be noted that this is not the only way of entering items into DecEzy. Items can also be entered on the fly while entering jobs or purchase orders. They can also be imported from files purchased from Bruma, the makers of DecEzy. This tutorial will only deal with entry via the Item Management window. To start off with, let's open the Item Management card. As all inventory items need to belong to a brand, we will need to select a brand before we can enter or edit any items. For this demo, we'll create a new brand by selecting the Add New option in the Brand field. In the brand card, we'll enter the details of our new brand. I'll enter the code, name, and default vendor. None of the other fields are necessary for today's demo. You'll notice a few things happened when I selected the brand I just created. Firstly, the brand default vendor automatically populated to the vendor we selected on the brand, as has the Enter Items for Vendor field. The brand default vendor is there for your information. You can't change it here. The vendor in the Enter Items for Vendor field indicates what vendor the costs you are entering are for. This will be demonstrated later. Now let's enter an item. The only field that is mandatory for each item is the brand item code. This should be populated with the code supplied by the brand. In this case, we will enter item 1 for our first item. Before I enter any more details, I should point out that I've hidden a number of columns on this window. So yours may look a little different to what you're seeing here. I'll now enter the description and a unit cost. Now it's also worth noting here that the $5 I entered as the unit cost for this item is only for the selected vendor. This will be discussed again more later on. Now we aren't going to enter any more details in this item line, but we are going to set up some of this item, the item's colors and sizes. This is not mandatory. If you wish, you can enter sizes and colors on the fly as you use them on jobs. Entering them here will just make your life easier later on. Now we open up the details section by clicking here, if yours is not already open. And we'll enter some details, 2 sizes and 2 colors. You'll notice that the unit costs have flowed into the sizes automatically. Now let's enter another item, item 2. Okay, we aren't going to enter a unit cost on the left-hand side of the screen here, as this item has 2 different unit costs for 2 different size ranges. Let's enter these now on the right-hand window. Small to medium, that's $5, and large to extra large is $6. Now we'll enter some sizes and link these to the size ranges above. You'll notice that the sizes now have inherited the costs from the size ranges they are linked to. Although this item may have some colors, we aren't going to bother setting them up, as they have no bearing on the costs. Now we will set up a third item. This item is going to be an item with no variance, that is, no sizes or colors. We can indicate this by checking the single color and single size checkboxes and optionally filling out the size and color fields. You'll note that the size and color details on the right hand side have gone non-editable. The filling out of colors and sizes of the color and size fields is not mandatory, but these values will be printed out on invoices and purchase orders, so it may be clearer if you do so. As I mentioned earlier, it is possible to have costs set up for multiple vendors. All of the costs set up so far have been for the selected vendor. Now we have decided we wish to enter costs for an alternate vendor in case we need to use them sometime in the future. To do this, we select the second vendor, Tom's Workwear. Notice that the unit costs have gone blank. This is because the vendor currently selected has no costs set up for this brand's items. Let's set up a few now. Now we can flick between the costs of the two vendors by selecting the vendor at the top. Go back to Gina's, back to Tom, and again back to Gina. One thing to note with this is that DecEzy will always use the cost of the default vendor for a given item. This is on on jobs and purchase orders, unless otherwise specified. Now I'll briefly discuss cost breaks. Let's imagine that this vendor gives us a slightly better price for buying greater quantities. For item 3, they are going to give us a 50-cent discount or a cost of $7.50 if we buy 50 or more units. To enter this into the system, we'll use cost breaks. To enter this cost break for 50 units, we'll put 50 in the cost break field up here. Now the cost break has been entered, the cost will... I need to enter the new cost. That's $7.50. Now the cost break has been entered, the cost will automatically be used by the system when appropriate. We can easily check the cost of various quantities by changing the number in this field. If we change it to 0, it goes back to 8. Change it to 49, it's still at 8. And as soon as it goes to 50, the unit cost goes down to $7.50. When using cost breaks, be careful to reset it back to 0 or all. When you're done, else all the costs you enter or view will be for that quantity. DecEzy also has the ability to store images of items, which I will now demonstrate. This is all managed on the Image tab here. There are various ways you can add an image to an item. We can use the right-click menu to load an image. I'll show that for item number 1. I'll add the shirt to this one. We can drag and drop an image from our file system. I'll demonstrate this for our next item. I'll drag these pants into here. We can drag and drop from the internet using Firefox. This won't always work with Internet Explorer. So I'll drag this cap into item 3. and we can copy and paste from the internet. This will work with Internet Explorer. I'll first clear this image. Copy and paste. Now we can easily see the image for each item. I'll flick between them. This concludes our introduction to the item management window. Please note that the item management window has a lot more functionality, which you can read up on the help files or watch other tutorials on.